Welcome to Connoisseurs and Conversations. I am Red Alert.
I'm Real
And
Insight.
today's episode, we're going to be talking about smooth and mellow fellows. But before we get into the fellas, let's talk a little bit about what we're sipping on today.
Man, we are sipping on this Uncle Nearest, man. It's Uncle Nearest single barrel.
Single barrel.
As we know, the distillery is not too far from here, about an hour south in Shelbyville.
Yep.
If you're in the Nashville area, I suggest that you check it out. They have the largest bar in the world, and they keep extending it, so they will continue to be the largest bar in the world. But this is a single barrel, very smooth. I would suggest a cube with this, just to lighten it up just a little bit for the novice bourbon drinker. But for you and I, we wouldn't need the cube at all. Most people are probably familiar with the 1884 and the 1856, but this is single barrel. You can get this one from the distillery directly. And there's a few others they have. They have a rye as well, and a couple other ones also. But very, very nice bourbon.
All right.
Well, I should say whiskey. And one more thing is that Uncle Nearest actually taught Jack Daniels how to make the liquor and what have you. So it's a good story behind that.
Yep. So smooth and mellow. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today. Smooth and mellow fellows. So this will be more about our favorite male artists. And I try to distinguish solo artists versus artists who came out of groups. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I think in the past we talked about falsettos and all that kind of stuff and what makes those special.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily about the way that they sing. We're just talking about great male singers, primarily R&B and soul singers.
Right.
So foundation, when you think about those guys who you grew up on and kind of set the standard for you in terms of male singers, who do you think about?
And this is maybe one of the more difficult segments we have as far as trying to narrow down who, because there's so many different great male singers, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you my top four yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow your pattern and give you some of ones that I like.
First.
I don't like honorable mention, just some that I like that I think that are just as good. So this is in no particular order.
No particular order.
No particular order, but this is not my final four. All right.
Okay.
So Lenny Williams.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
And what was he? He was in
Tower of Power.
Tower of Power. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Lenny Williams could flat out SANG sing.
Yep.
I mean, the one of the best of all time. And they redid Me and Mrs. Jones with Tower of Power that Billy Paul originally did. And it's just an amazing rendition of that. I will also say Freddie Jackson.
Mr. Jam Tonight.
Jam Tonight. Freddie was trying to rival, another guy in that same I guess voice realm that he was in. I don't think he ever got there, but Freddie Jackson is very good from Tasty Love, You Are My Lady.
So we talking what late 80s, I think, Freddie Jackson.
Mid 80s, yeah. Late 80s, yeah.
Yeah, you had a couple of strong male vocalists back at that point in time.
Yep. And I would say another one around that time was Glenn Jones. Glenn Jones could sing as well. We've only just begun. And he could hit that high range as well and come back down to his tenor voice also. And I would say another honorable mention is Johnny Gill. That boy can sing. He's been around a long time.
That's a good one.
Him and Stacey Lattisaw. Remember them together.
Yep.
And then he went solo, and then he went with New Edition. And back and forth solo after that. The boy was born to sing.
I'm willing to bet you that most people think of him as part of New Edition and forget how strong he was as a solo artist.
You think so?
The generation that came up behind us, they probably only remember him from New Edition.
Maybe not, but I think a lot of people know he replaced Bobby Brown, so to speak.
Right.
So they had to go get him from somewhere.
Right.
And he was, solo at the time.
But think about it though. Solo, he was being compared to, Teddy Pendergrass and all that kind of stuff at a very early age.
Yeah.
And it is odd. Most of the time people, artists come out of a group. He went into a group.
He went into a group.
Which is, not the normal, not the norm, what you
It,
don't usually see.
and I think it says something to his character. I'm not saying good or bad, but the type of personality.
Hmm.
We could talk alphas and betas or what have you. Usually, a guy that's solo does not join a group.
Yeah.
Usually, it's the other way around, right? But it could be looked at as far as a humble type personality is as well. I met him once.
Mm.
Um, he was at my school, Dillard University, New Orleans, performing and met him there, and just a humble cat.
Mm.
He's a humble cat, so I think that has something to do with him going to the group as well. I don't want to digress and get into that argument, but that was an interesting point you brought up. But I'll stop there for
That
now
that's
and see what you have.
all right. So we just talking about honorable mentions right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna get these out of the way. But David Ruffin, Eddie Kendricks, uh,
Eddie Kendricks?
yeah. But even as a solo artist, Eddie Kendricks to me was the vocalist. He was the man for me. But I'm not.
Yeah,
We talked about him a lot when we
yeah,
talked about falsettos.
yeah.
Man, do you know how many albums that he released in
Falsetto,
solo?
yes. I'm talking about full singer.
Full
I don't
singer.
I don't have him in that
I,
category with
I
the
still
rest.
got I still
No,
got I still got Eddie Kendricks.
nah. Okay.
One of my and this is one of my personal favorites, and this
Hmm.
this is an old school artist,
Hmm.
is Billy Stewart.
Hmm.
Summertime and Sitting in the Park.
Hmm.
Very short career, unfortunately. I think he was another artist who was on the Chess record label, if
I
I'm
Do
not
Love You
mistaken.
as
I
well.
Do Love You was one of
Yeah,
his as
yeah,
well. Died tragically at a very
yeah.
early age, and but Billy Stewart is one of my favorites.
So what is it about GQ that redid two of his songs?
I
Isn't
know.
there something? They did a good job too.
They did a good job,
Yeah,
but I think it was also just the time. You talking about the early '80s, and
yeah.
you had this. Uh, they were doing throwbacks then, and they were going back and getting
That's
some of these
true.
older songs and
Yeah,
remaking some of those songs.
yeah.
And GQ had that doo-wop sound,
They
even though
did.
they weren't necessarily a doo-wop group.
No.
So I think that was one of the reasons why they went back and pulled some of that stuff forward. Another great vocalist who didn't have a huge career is a guy by the name of Junior Bailey
Mm,
or J.R. Bailey.
mm.
He sang with the Cadillacs, but he had at least two that I can remember albums that he released. But he wrote that song that Donny Hathaway re-released, "Love, Love,
Hmm.
Love."
He wrote that?
He wrote that,
Okay.
and he wrote a couple of other songs too. But as a vocalist, J.R. Bailey, he's just one of my personal
Okay.
faves.
All right. Well, I think the ones I mentioned so far got yours beat, but
Nah,
we'll keep on
nah.
going. All right.
I mean, they might be more well known, but
Yeah.
they don't have mine beat.
So I don't want to list my four yet. I want to name a couple more people in there because I don't want to leave them out, not as honorable mention, but
Okay.
just other great singers. Bobby Womack,
Mm.
if you think you're lonely now, wait until tonight,
No,
girl.
if you think you're lonely, then you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to get that in
Yeah,
there.
it's just that raspiness in
Yep.
his voice. I love that. We forget sometimes about those gospel singers that sing really well, and the Winans brothers, the
Yeah.
Marvin Winans. He's a
Yep.
great singer to this day, and his brother, baby brother, BB Winans, is
Yep.
a good singer. Dinah McClurkin, obviously, as well, could sing. But another one I would like to add. To my list would be David Hollister. David Hollister.
Yeah, I thought about him too.
Yeah, he's a good singer as well, and he was
He
with
which group?
Blackstreet,
Okay.
and then went solo after that.
And to me, it's really interesting that in those mid 90 period,
Hmm.
you had these great singers who came out of these groups, but I don't know if they had the same success like they had in the group. Dave
Right.
Hollister might be a different example. If you think about it, it was R. Kelly in Public Announcement first.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can't remember one Public Announcement song, but I can
High
remember
five.
right.
That's about it.
Aaron Hall
Hmm.
was in that same kind of
Hmm.
time frame. Um, Man, so where does like a Al B. Sure fall on your list?
That never get off on your own girl. If I'm saying it right, that was a jam, and he had we left him off a nice falsetto voice too, because he sung in that, but he is not a he's not a falsetto, but he sings in falsetto, as you like to say. So yeah,
So there's certain artists that I think about who I don't necessarily think of them as singers, but I think of them as overall their overall sound.
yeah,
Albie Sure is one of them. When
yeah.
he came out, he had a sound that I don't think anybody else had musically,
Hmm.
as well as
Yeah,
his voice.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, that album, that first album he had came out around the same time that Keith Sweat album came out at the very same
Hmm.
time, and they were battling back then.
So that's another one.
Yeah,
Like where does Keith Sweat fall on this list?
yeah. I don't. Hey, I love his music. He's a great writer too. Hey, there's a right and a wrong way, right? He's a bad man, but I think he would agree when you talk about these greatest singers of all time. Respectfully, I think he knows where he is in
Yeah,
that
and
and what he does great.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
He's not one of my favorites. He wouldn't be one of those that I would consider as one of the greatest male vocalists of all
I
time.
would say this, not one of my favorite male vocalists, but he has some of my favorite songs. Does
Okay.
that make
Yeah.
sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So where are we with this? Is it back to me? Or is it to you now?
I mean, I
I
typically
listen.
let you
Yeah, I
go.
did. I
I typically let you go first, but
okay.
and I think I'll just
Okay.
let me go with my Mount Rushmore, my
Okay.
top four
All right.
male vocalists.
Okay.
And this is some of these are gonna be some gimmies, but I got one that'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be a bit of a shocker for you.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Pendergrass,
Got to.
gotta have Teddy in there.
Yeah.
That's a gimme. Luther is gonna be another gimme. I know, I know. These are real easy for you, right?
No, I agree with you though.
Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Um, then the last one that I'll mention though is one of my unsung favorite artists, and he's
Mm-hmm.
a um, he sings gospel at one point in time, but just a killer voice. And this gentleman by the name of DJ Rogers.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, that's my personal
Yeah.
favorite.
Okay.
I mean, say you love me and
Right.
love brought me
I
back.
remember
Man,
him. Yeah.
DJ Rogers was he was the man.
Okay.
And he has this performance that he did with Rance Allen that I can't remember. It was at an award show where he was getting recognized for something, not one of the televised award shows, but it was a music industry award show that he did like this 15-minute set and brought
Yeah.
Rance Allen out.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Rogers is he's one of my favorites.
Okay. Um, well, we have two in there that are alike.
Two, okay.
Um, Teddy Pendergrass, you know me, he's my favorite
Hmm.
of all time. Teddy was influenced by Marvin Jr. of the
Oh
Dells.
man, yeah,
And
yeah,
if
yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't know him, Drew Hill redid their song. Can't think of it right now.
They might have tried to redo it,
They
but
tried.
there ain't
What
nobody like the
Cisco
Dells.
did Marvin Jr.'s portion, but you can't replicate Junior. You guys and gals know what song I'm talking about. It come
But
back to me in a
just
second.
I got to stop on Marvin Jr.
Okay.
real quick,
All
man,
right.
because and we the Dells were that's a Chicago group, Harvey,
They're
Illinois,
bad, man.
right outside
Yeah.
of the south suburbs of Chicago.
Hmm.
So we knew who the Dells were.
Yeah.
But Stay in My Corner,
Yeah.
that song, the love we had stays on my man.
That's
They
it.
got
The love
so
we
many.
had. Drew Hill redid that one.
They
Yeah.
got so
Yeah.
many just great cuts, and
Yeah.
they had an outstanding harmony
Yeah.
set too, right? Can't
Right.
remember the guy's name who would hit that high note,
Yeah.
but Marvin Jr., man, just that gruff, that husky, just
We need to do a show just on him because the audience, the world needs to know who he was and how great he
and I
was.
think they were the basis for the Five
Five
Heartbeats
Heartbeats,
too,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
them.
Yep.
That's them singing. Eddie Kane Jr. No one want to hang with old Eddie Kane.
Can't nobody sing like Eddie Kane.
How's it feel to be me? Yeah, so Teddy,
Yep.
obviously Luther Vandross, who may be the best ever.
Best
Um,
vocalist ever, yes.
yeah, I think that arguably, I think no one would disagree with that. I think you have your favorites, but no one would disagree with
Mhm.
that. Jeffrey Osborne,
Okay, Jeffrey
yeah,
Osborne.
he bad. He was LTD
Yep.
and then went on his own, successful in both. So he left them and went on his own and still kept it at that high level as
What was the
well.
song? The woo
Woo, woo,
song.
woo, woo. The woo, woo, woo. That's a word, man. Woo.
Now it is.
Now it's a word. Yeah, but he had so many with him, man. Is just an amazing singer. Um, Kenny Lattimore.
Kenny Lattimore.
Kenny Lattimore, man. And obviously he's not as old as those guys, but he is just as talented. And Kenny was trained, man. He's a trained
Hmm.
singer. He can sing opera. He can sing anything that you put in front of him, and he can hit any note that you put in front of him. And he's a friend. I know
Oh,
Kenny.
see,
And I'm not
you
putting it on there because
there
of that.
now, and now here we go
What up,
now.
brother?
Okay.
What's up, man? What's up, Kenny? But nah, and Q, what's up, Q? But he is a bona fide singer, and no one wants to go after him as well. And one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet
So
in your life.
so I can think of like two Kenny Lattimore songs. For you, I think it's For You, the one they
That's
play
a
at the
signature song.
and it is a signature song.
Yeah.
And then he had a gospely song that I just remember from.
Well, his first hit was Never Too Busy. If you remember that, Never Too
Mhm.
Busy. And then he redid Starship as well. And there's a song called I Believe on another album. I mean, he has several great songs, but he
And
had his own style.
I think the only thing that with him is that he didn't get that crossover kind of explosion that some of these other guys got that
Mm.
would have made him a household name.
And I think that has a lot to do with producers,
Hmm.
the type of producers, because the record label he was with at the time moved on from him
Uh,
into Maxwell.
so
They went
timing.
in a
Oh
different
wow,
direction.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember when Maxwell came out, I kept thinking about the parallels of how they sounded similar. Now
Hmm.
they're only in terms of sound, not in terms of style.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Almost like Whitney Houston and Phyllis Hyman,
Yeah.
right? How
Moved on.
Capitol when I think it was Capitol Records that they went on. They moved on from Phyllis to Whitney.
Yeah. And the fourth one I'm putting there, contrast,
Hold on. So you said Teddy,
Luther,
Luther,
Kenny,
Kenny,
Jeffrey Osborne.
Jeffrey.
That's
So
four, isn't it?
that is four.
Okay,
All
but
right.
let me
Just trying to make
okay.
sure we
All
keep
right.
this tally, keep score here.
Let me throw a higher pitched voice in there. I'm going to say El DeBarge as well. So El is very talented, and he's not just that falsetto singer. He can come down, and if you see him live too, he is more dynamic than people think. And he's a musician. Play the
Yeah.
piano. He can play multi instruments as well. And he's still out there singing today, man. And so you talk about a man and a family that's been through so much, and he is still leading the charge with that family to keep that name, that DeBarge name, strong. You know, kudos to Mr. L. DeBarge. I'm a fan, big fan.
That's solid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's solid.
All right.
Um,
That's my five. Teddy, Luther,
that's your five.
Jeffrey, Freddie, and I had to throw L in
I mean,
there.
that's your
That's my four.
that's
My
your
four
four, right?
plus. My four plus.
So any contemporaries out there that you want to throw in there? And when I say contemporaries, I'm just talking about artists that you check for that are still
Yeah.
recording and making stuff now.
Um, that what's that guy name? October London, who's out there
Mhm.
today. He has a nice sound. I've mentioned Lucky Day before.
Mhm.
Um, Tate McRae, there's another guy out there that's doing Omar Apollo. He's nice as well.
Not familiar with him.
Yeah, he's one of the new guys out there. Nice contemporary sound. Someone that's not really contemporary, but that's still out there that'll throw a song out there here and there. I call it a triple threat. Triple threat. That boy Jamie Foxx can sing, man. Say what you want. That boy Jamie Foxx can sing,
He
man.
can,
He can sing.
and I chuckle because I guess I still find myself pigeonholing him into this entertainment role,
Uh-huh.
this actor slash comedian, and so certain songs when I hear the songs, I still hear that funny guy
Yeah,
coming out of the song. So
yeah. Yeah, he
uh,
got the pipes though, man.
yeah, he can sing, he can sing.
A couple guys, a couple more I just want to mention, not honorable mention, but mention to be Jaheim. Is another one. Gerald Levert, remember him?
Yeah, yep.
He was good. Um, yeah, I think that's Will Downing.
So that Will Downing, Gerald Levert, another one of those
Hmm.
guys that or those gentlemen that came out of that
Hmm.
80s slash 90s time frame, right? Um,
Yeah, late 80s,
late
90s.
80s and
Yeah,
90s. Yep.
yeah. And one more I gotta mention, he would be in my top four plus one would be James Ingram as well.
Fine one.
You talk about a wonderful
100
singer.
ways. Is that James
Yeah,
Ingram?
that's James Ingram,
Yeah.
man. And the way he just that he has strength in his voice, but he can. I don't want to do it because I can't sing like him, but he can woo, he can do that voice and just hold that sound, that note right there, and that tenor tone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just amazing. He was on that Secret Garden with
Hmm.
that Quincy Jones did, rest Quincy solo as well. But just an amazing singer in concert as well. That boy can blow, and he's unsung, I believe.
I would say he is. And for me, when I think of James Ingram, I don't separate him from the work that he did with Quincy Jones.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't remember a whole lot, and I know he done stuff
Mhm.
outside of it, but I don't remember a whole lot that.
Just once,
But
just once.
yeah, but wasn't that produced by? That was on his solo album, but wasn't that produced by Quincy Jones?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
See
You
that?
said outside of
Yeah,
Quincy,
I don't know of him doing anything outside of that Quincy Jones machine, if you
but
will.
to me, it has nothing to do with the quality of the singer he was.
No, not it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the singer, but there was a sound and there was such a high quality that a Quincy Jones production
Hmm.
brought. That's all. So
Yeah.
I think more Quincy Jones than I think James Ingram. That's
Yeah.
all. Thinking of him being part of that whole
They
collaboration.
need each other, right? I mean, you got these great producers that look for these people to sing these songs. Let me give you another one. I mentioned Secret Garden.
Hmm.
And originally, Quincy Jones wanted Michael Jackson to
Hmm.
sing that part. And Mike was, I'm too big, man. I ain't gonna do nothing like that. It's just who Mike was. And he went and got El DeBarge to do it. And it was a great fit,
Yeah.
And so you had El, you had James Ingram, you had Barry White. Was that the three? Was it one more? But anyway, yeah. So you're right. Not James Ingram, but Quincy Jones had a sound that was just magic,
Hmm.
but he wanted to find that perfect singer to do it. So I think that my point is that Quincy Jones needed James Ingram for those songs as much as James Ingram needed him. I don't think anyone could have made those signature songs that he sung um, pop like James Ingram did.
Yeah. Before we get too far off, let me
Hmm.
make sure I add on my 4+1.
Okay, you got
Barry
another
White.
one?
Barry White.
Yeah, yeah.
And Isaac Hayes is a almost another throw in on that list. And we're just talking about guys who just
What about Lou Rawls?
Lou Rawls is my guy too.
Yeah.
That one of my favorite karaoke songs I
You
sing.
stay in that realm, yeah.
Exactly. I get to say right there.
Yeah.
Now contemporaries though,
Hmm.
I'll go through these kind of quick.
Hmm.
I got BJ the Chicago Kid,
Hmm.
uh, Anthony Hamilton. Just reminds me so much of Al Green. Bilal, who's not
Yeah.
really a contemporary
Yeah.
anymore. He's been at this for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And this other guy is too, Eric Roberson, who I think is a great songwriter, um, good singer, but even better songwriter.
Hmm.
Those are like the guys when they release something, I'm checking for them as
Yeah.
soon as they come out.
You know, another throwback before I forget that was supposed to be that guy, I think, after Luther as well, but had a nice album and another backup album that was okay was Miles J. You remember him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
Um,
could sing as well, and in
he
that
to
lower realm
me,
tone.
he kind of got caught up almost into for whatever reason.
I've been a fool
He almost got
for
caught up into like the smooth jazz
you gave me.
realm for whatever. But he with Miles J. What was the other one that he did? Someone start all over, back
Yeah,
to the way
let's
things
start
were.
over. Yeah,
Forget about him and I forget about her. Yeah,
yeah.
Miles J. was,
He,
but just a limited. He had a limited run.
yeah,
He was
that's
hot
what I
for a
mean.
minute, and
Yeah,
that was it.
yeah. And again, it shows how difficult it is to be in this business, in this music business,
Yep.
just to come back with consistent songs that people like. I'm not talking about top 10 hits or something. Oh, I like that song.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy to do.
You know who else we left off?
Do that.
Donny Hathaway.
Oh, ooh,
Now
ooh.
and now so. again, this goes back to vocalists. When I
Yes.
think of Donny Hathaway, I think of singer, songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
keyboard, piano.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of him in a broader kind of
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Same thing with Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm. We
I
didn't
think
mention
of them,
Stevie.
yeah, but I think of him as more as this artist slash performer. Same thing with Prince. While they're great vocalists on their own, I think of them in a much
And
more kind of comprehensive picture.
yeah, but I think we got to mention them with great singers as well.
I mean, Michael Jackson goes in that list too, but
Yeah.
again, he's bigger than just his singing ability
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. And some others that were good for specific songs. You know, I mentioned Billy Paul earlier, but
Mhm.
he's perfect for that song. You know what I mean? I mean, the other renditions are great. Dramatics have a great rendition of that.
Mhm.
Me and Mrs. Jones. I mentioned Lenny Williams and Todd Power, but there's nothing like that original in the way Billy Paul sings that and bring it to life. And it's a sound that he has. I wouldn't say he has a magnificent voice, but he has a voice for that song that Gamble and Huff put together for him.
Yeah.
He was perfect for it.
We can continue to go down the rabbit hole. You
Yeah.
got Nat King Cole that you got to throw in
Oh
there,
my
and
God.
some
Yeah.
some of those artists from
Yeah.
back then. But let's look to recap. Your top four plus one are
Teddy, Luther, Jeffrey Osborne, James Ingram, Kenny Lattimore.
my top four male vocalists. I know he's four plus one. Marvin Gaye,
Yeah.
Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, and my unsung hero, DJ Rogers.
Okay, I got you. But you know who else I want to mention as well? And this is way before both our time. Um, you used to watch Fred Sanford the Son, right?
Mhm.
He used to sing that song by the Ink Spice. If I didn't care.
Right.
The guy named that was the lead singer, his name is Bill Kinney. And
Uh-huh.
he goes down as one of the best um was it alto? What's the name of that voice sound I'm thinking of right now? I can't think of it. Alto
Okay.
voices ever. I mean, he is an amazing singer and he's influenced a lot of these guys that we talked about today. But his name is Bill Kinney.
Hmm.
Look him up. He was the lead singer of the Ink Spots that Fred Sanford always do this. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Bill Kinney. He's a bad
Uh,
boy.
well, that's it for this episode of
Yeah.
Connoisseurs and
If I
Conversations.
did good.
Give us your top vocalists of all time, R&B and soul, and we'd love to hear from you and also let us know who you think has the better list. But anyway, till the next one, peace.
Peace. We out.